Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is the case of the Idaho quadruple murders. Today we had some good news that John Judge has asked the prosecution to turn over the genealogical DNA and all the evidence in this case to the defense attorney. They've been given 1 month to turn it over. That will be up to the 1st of December. But the prosecution is saying that they have to wait for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, to turn over the evidence. At least now the case could move forward and we can finally know how they had this roadmap that connected the genealogical DNA to Mr. Brian Christopher Cober. Our expert will explain a bit about how the genealogical DNA works, and he's one of my favorite experts.
It is still sealed. A PCA is supposed to lay out why law enforcement believes a suspect is guilty of a crime. This affidavit, we expect, will have exact details about why investigators were led to the 28-year-old criminology student from nearby Pullman, Washington. Possibly Cober's connection to the victims, how he pulled off the crime, why they think it was him, all those things should be included. And one of the biggest details may be how, after saying for so long they did not have a suspect in mind, how they made that link. Likely more than the car he drives, that white Hyundai Elantra. National news outlets claim they know about that connection, and they have for several days.
So many family members that we've spoken to so far say they are relieved that someone is behind bars. Law enforcement sources have been telling us that a big crack in this case came from DNA, specifically genetic genealogy. And so we'll be hearing a little bit more about that, likely in that probable cause statement.
That was NBC's Gotti Schwartz from Monday, and that genetic genealogy, he said, was the big crack in the case, was something one of our viewers asked us about yesterday. Brian, could you delve into the DNA genealogy database used for the suspect at the U of I? Does the government now have genealogy info that previously was controlled by individuals and private organizations? And how accurate is this database? Well, to answer those three questions, it would require the knowledge of a DNA expert. And it just so happens we have one of those in our own backyard. With Dr. Greg Hampikian, terms like renowned and preeminent cannot be overstated. He got a degree in biology in 1982. He got a master's in genetics in 1986. He got a doctorate in genetics in 1990. He's been a board member of the Georgia Innocence Project since 2003. He started the Idaho Innocence Project in 2006, a year after he started teaching biological sciences at Boise State University. He's also the director of the Forensic Justice Project at BSU. He's a musician, a songwriter, a playwright. But back to that DNA expert stuff. Dr. Hampikian says he has used that expertise to help prove the innocence of wrongly convicted people around the country and around the world. Think Christopher Tapp in eastern Idaho and Amanda Knox in Italy. Normally in our backyard, today he's in Europe. But he took some time to speak with Andrew Bartline about the DNA forensic process and how it could have been used to solve this quadruple murder.
The crime labs are kind of behind the times. The genealogists have been doing this for more than a decade. The crime labs are just starting to do it.
Genetic genealogy, what is that exactly?
And so in this case, what it seems happened is they got some DNA. We don't know what from, maybe from an access point like a doorknob or a window. Once the DNA is sequenced, you can then take that file, just like a consumer would, to one of the genealogy sites that allows police to search public records of people who have opted in, saying, hey, if there's a murderer or a rapist in my family, I don't mind if you use my DNA to try to find them. I don't think it says exactly that, but there's an opt-in box. And enough people have done that if there is a Caucasian DNA sample, you have better than 70% chance of finding the family tree, last name, etc., of the person who left the DNA.
So if they don't get a hit in any of the, criminal databases of previously convicted criminals, they would then go to a commercial outlet where people would voluntarily submit their DNA to find out their own genealogy that way?
There is a company, Verigen. For example, I've worked with them. and they have a program for the police. It costs about $500 a file that the police want to say, hey, we have this file. There's no hit to the convicted offender database. We use the genealogy type of DNA. Here's the file. Can you send us relatives to this piece of evidence? Just like it was somebody looking for their long lost cousin. So after you get the genetic genealogy match, you get a buccal swab, a mouth swab from the person who is a suspect, and see if they match using traditional DNA methods. I imagine that in this case that they've probably already gotten that far through maybe a discarded cup or a cigarette butt or something like that. So they probably, for their probable cause, have already verified the match. But we'll see once it's unsealed.
I think a lot of people have this perception that DNA evidence is just a slam dunk land that we got the guy, but I guess through your work we've learned that that's not always the case.
The first time DNA evidence was reversed was a case that we worked on. Kerry Robinson out of Georgia, he was convicted with DNA evidence, and we showed that the DNA evidence in that case was bad. One thing I would point out is DNA is very, very good at telling us who might have been the original source of some biological material. It is absolutely, not good at telling us how material got somewhere. So if I, lend you my glove, you can leave my DNA somewhere. You need more than just the identification.
Dr. Hampikian adds that it is a difficult process. Typically, a genealogist is needed to sort through records and newspapers and assist police in finding out, who is alive, where people are, who might be around. And if these reports are true, Brian, that genetics played a significant role in this, in Coberger's arrest, Hampikian is confident that this is the process and how they did it.
It's fascinating to me. It's outside of my understanding completely, but I get it. I can follow the process a little bit. But that proving or disproving that DNA is what the system he used to show that Amanda Knox was not guilty, said that DNA was tainted, there was something wrong with it. So it goes both ways, as you said. Is it reliable? Sure. But what does it tell you? That depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, can be.
What does it tell you? That depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, can be very effective, but he used another analogy with me, if take someone's toothbrush, you could put their DNA wherever you want at that point, and it might accidentally be transferred one way or another. So again, it shows you who's the original source of this biological material. And if it turns out to be true from these national reports, what we're hearing, it seems that is how Coberger could be connected to this.
And hopefully by tomorrow, with the release of the unsealing of that probable cause affidavit, we'll have a better understanding. Maybe that DNA did play a big part. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist, that's a CBT therapist, and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. I'd like to start by thanking all my subscribers, my viewers, all the people who leave me comments in the channel. I haven't answered everyone. I've been busy at work, but I will get back to you all. I really appreciate the patience, the kindness, the mindfulness, the respect that I share with my community and my subscribers. I'd like to start by saying condolence to the families of the 4 precious victims in the quadruple murders: Kaylee, Zana, Ethan, Maddie. May they rest in peace. Today is actually a blessed day. I always believe every day is a blessed day, obviously, but today is actually a progress in the Idaho quadruple murders. Finally, the judge, that's his name actually, has looked into the evidence, looked into the statements, and he came to the decision by asking the prosecution to hand over all the evidence, the touch DNA evidence, genealogical evidence that pointed the FBI and the prosecution in the direction of Brian Christopher Cober. It's been a year since the quadruple murder has happened within a couple of days. There hasn't been much in this progress in this case, and that is due to all the gag orders in this case. Finally, the defense attorney will have a chance to go through the genealogical DNA and hopefully the 3 unidentified male DNAs that was found in the scene. I don't know which direction that will go into, since I personally believe, this is for entertainment purpose to start with, I personally believe that the prosecution is holding everything close to the vest, which is quite normal, but in this case it's been extreme. They haven't turned over the evidence that connected Brian Christopher Cober to this case. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Brian Christopher Cober deserves a fair trial like every other human being. So today is a blessed day because the evidence has to be turned in within 1 month. 1st December was the deadline. Although the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, said that it can take more time because the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, needs more time to gather all those evidence to submit it. But the good thing is, at least it's a plus for the defense attorney that they're going to look into how the genealogical DNA trace back to their client or to the person they're defending. In this case, it's Brian Christopher Cober. So I think that is a start, that is blessed, and it should be like that. You can't hold on to evidence and expect, you can't hold on to evidence and expect the person to be basically sentenced for this horrific quadruple murders. I personally, and I know that my subscribers are just out for the truth. We want to know how they got into the accusing Brian Christopher Cober of this crime. Because when we look at it this way, all these evidence should have been actually submitted from the beginning so that the case could have moved forward and so that the defense could have correctly defended their client. But now we have the FBI, who's got 48 hours from the university to take 3D evidence in this case. So let's hope that all that will be submitted. But what I found interesting is I put up a clip from Law and Crime Network, and you saw the former FBI supervisor talking about how difficult it could be because most of these evidence from the house could have been tampered with. He said that it took 8 hours for the surviving roommates, for whatever reason, to contact the police. They contacted the Sigma Chi fraternity boys actually before even 911 call was made. So you can imagine how many people tampered in that crime scene, came in, went out, and then we had the police obviously that came into the scene. We could see they did not have the correct forensic equipment before they entered, and that really spoils the case. That really spoils the case because now there's a lot of things in this case that has been tampered with. Hopefully, all these gag orders have been taken out slowly by slowly. So let's hope that the trial can finally begin. As a mental health counselor, as a licensed mental health counselor, CBT therapist, I think it is the best way that they proceed with this court and the jury and all, because when you look at it, it's not fair for the parents who are grieving. They've been through bereavement. They definitely need counseling. Their whole life has changed. All of the 4 parents have lost their beloved child in such a horrific manner. They need the answers. We need the answers. The world needs the answers. But besides that, we have to think of it this way, whether we like it or not. Brian Christopher Cober could be innocent or he could be guilty. So he's entitled to a fair trial too. He's entitled for these evidence to be shown so that his defense attorney could ask questions, could find out how these things led to Brian Cober. I personally believe that the 5,000 tips that were called into the FBI in the beginning of the case, I personally think that this was a setup. Many of the students, a couple of thousands of them, called and decided to frame it on Brian Cober. That is very possible. From the beginning of this case, we have seen nothing make sense. The timelines are being changed. In the beginning, we were told that DM was in the first floor sleeping, and so was BF. After the affidavit came out 6-7 weeks later, when Brian Christopher Cober was arrested, we found out personally that actually DM wasn't in the first floor. She was in the second floor. She witnessed a black clothing person with bushy eyebrows saying something like, "I'm here to help," to Xana. But she decided to lock her room and text BF. Doesn't make sense why somebody wouldn't call law and enforcement straight away, even after 2 hours. But 8 hours is a long time when a person decides not to call law enforcement. I think personally that there's something really wrong in that situation, and that will come up in court, definitely. There's been so much happening in this case that obviously we've been just speculating, theories have been out there. These are not facts, most of them, but we have eyes, we have ears, and we can see that people were calling out Xana's name in the grub truck, and that was around 2 a.m. at night. So I personally believe, I've always said that this is 2 separate incidents. I believe that Kaylee and Maddie was targeted by someone else, and Xana and Ethan were targeted in the party or after the party of Sigma Chi. We don't know what the defense is going to use in this case and how they're going to defend themselves, defend their client in this case, but anything is possible. They could even say that the knife sheath was planted, and I don't think that is far-fetched, because when you look at it, there was 2 surviving roommates who took 8 hours to call the police. Were they involved in the crimes, or were they just innocent? Let's not forget that the chief himself said in the press conference, the first 2 press conferences, he said to, Fox Digital News, when they asked him, "Are the roommates witness?" He didn't hesitate. He said, "No, they're not witness, they were just there." That sentence has stuck with me for a very long time, because for the chief to say that, he's admitting that there's something that he doesn't buy in the storyline and timeline of the 2 witnesses. I found it very strange. In the Bandfield video at 3:01, you'll see a big black truck driving past the undercover cops. I wonder if that was DM's truck. We've seen her with pictures of that truck. That is one thing that I have doubt in. The front door was left open, so was it BF who left the door open, or was it DM? Or was it the suspects? We have had DM, his boyfriend, Quinn Kelly, wearing a mask that day. I heard Crime Sleuthing debunking that and saying to Carol, that is Xana's mother, that don't believe that because you can take someone's face and put it in a mask. Crime sleuthing is really wrong in that one, because that mask picture was on Snapchat. DM decided to put it on private. She must have deleted it later, but it was too late, because that was everywhere on social media. Was Quinn Kelly in Idaho, Moscow, or was he not? Many people, many of the college students say he was there, but he says that he wasn't. I think that wasn't properly investigated. I find it baffling that a quadruple murder took place and Dylan, DM, and a boyfriend are actually wearing masks. That doesn't settle right with anyone. It's strange that people could be wearing masks when a quadruple murder just happened, and those pictures were put in private. Then we have the Bandfield video that I've showed time and time again, Saeed watching disturbing, concerning pictures, the grub truck video where Joe Vito and we had many other people, we had that guy Aiden with the long hair and beard standing next to Joe Vito, taking out his phone at the same time and watching pictures. Pictures that look like figures from a crime scene. And that can't just be a coincidence. Everything can't be a coincidence in this case. I personally believe that they live streamed it. I don't know how they live streamed it, but everyone was managing to watch these pictures. I don't know if this is a Greek side secrets that are actually coming out, if this is the 4chan post that they made, this anonymous person made, because when you look at it, all the motives are there. 3 of the victims were the targets. So anything is possible. I've heard people talking about this could be something to do with drugs and money. I try to avoid that because I take really mindfulness to the parents, their parents watching. Ethan, his mother, said this has nothing to do with drugs, although she said 2 a.m. is the hardest time for her and her family, for all of them. So I'm sure something must have happened to Ethan and Xana at 2 a.m. Maybe they were pronounced dead at 2 a.m. Because let's not forget that the coroner said that the deaths was pronounced after 2 a.m. Now, if the deaths happen at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., I don't think the coroner would have started from saying after 2 a.m. She knew something, obviously, that is in gag order that we can't see. All we want is justice for these victims. I know that the people in the grub truck look like they were plotting against Maddie and Kaylee. We've even seen John S. have showed it to y'all that when he walked off and he was upset that the girls left, he went towards the right side and a car was waiting for him. It looked like a red Mustang. Strangely enough, a red Mustang was found 10 minutes away from the girls' house, and we could clearly see that the forensic teams were taking pictures inside and outside. They had actually the forensic team suit on. That is the suit that the forensic should have had on when they were entering 1122 Kings Road. We saw the police, we saw the forensic teams without their kit. They were rubbing their nose, they were sneezing. Let's be honest, many things were not right in this quadruple murders. I think it was wrong that the evidence was taken from the scene so quickly and given to the parents. I hope Ann Taylor uses all that in court, because this is not right. There could have been many evidence. There could have been many evidence of other people who were involved in this horrific quadruple murders. For me, what I find interesting is that Eaton, his Jeep, his other vehicle, apparently 2 vehicles, and his kit, his golf kit, is frozen as evidence. I wonder why. Could it be possible that Eaton and Xana were unlived inside the car or outside the car or near the car? Was the golf set used against them? because we know a sharp edge object was used. It could have been a knife, it could have been golf sets, it could have been anything. So this will be interesting to find out. And now that the FBI is going to make a 3D pictures and videos, and they're going back to the house, we don't know how much evidence that is left that they can gather, because apparently everything is going to be taken out, the carpets, everything. Imagine how much DNA is in that could be useful. I believe this case wasn't handled well from the beginning, and that is actually a problem. When a case is not handled in the best manner, a lot of evidence could be lost in this case. I just hope that the 4 victims get their justice so that the parents could... It's really sad and heartbreaking. I was about to say so that the parents could move on. They can never move on from... You send your children to university for education. You don't send them to come back in body bags. That is unacceptable. I believe this was something from the Greek style life, the sororities, the fraternities. I personally believe John S. is involved because of all his psychopathic behaviors. Allegedly, he was throwing dead animals in front of the sororities. He was kicked out from his fraternity. He has Cober knives. He loves hunting. He loves skinning animals. Trigger warning. So obviously, when they keep on saying that BK is an incel, I think that is out of order, because nobody's an incel. Nobody knows BK's mental health. Nobody knows what kind of behaviors he had. It's just speculations that we hear from people, allegedly, who said that they went to college with him in Pennsylvania. Not everything should be believed. That is what I believe. Until the facts come out in this case, he's entitled to a fair trial. Everyone's entitled to a fair trial. I hope they find the 3 unidentified DNAs so that maybe it could point out to who all were involved. It takes only one jury to come out with doubts. And when that happens, that is not good. But if Brian Christopher Cober is innocent, he needs that one jury to have that doubt. And since so much evidence has been played around with, has not correctly been done, I don't know how far this case is going to go. But may God bless the judge for allowing the defense to get the forensic DNA, the genealogical DNA. I wonder why the prosecution didn't want to hand it over in the start. That makes me believe, did they get it in an incorrect way? Was there something illegal that happened? Another thing, let's not forget, this DNA evidence was it was taken to the labs in Idaho, and then it was transferred to the FBI lab in Austin, Texas. That could have easily been tampered with. And that is a knife sheet. That is touch DNA. You just heard the expert of the DNA explaining how touch DNA can go, even if somebody borrows your scarf and takes it somewhere else, the DNA will be there. If you shake someone's hand and they go and commit a horrific quadruple murder, your DNA will be on the knife sheet. So there are many things here that we need to use our critical thinking. That is important in this case. I'd like to end by thanking all my subscribers, all my viewers, for your beautiful comments and for your interesting theories. Condolence to the families, justice for the 4 victims, and may the real suspects be exposed. Have a lovely weekend, guys. Bye.